The City of Soundsville is the name of this podcast, and if you haven't caught on already, that's pretty much going to be the intro of every single episode, so I hope you guys get used to it because it's not going away.
Ever.
How are you doing, RJ?
I'm okay. And how are you, Mr. Shadowstreak?
I'm pretty good. Today, for, I'll just date this podcast right away. Today is 2 days after I released my video on every episode of Season 1 reviewed, so now you know when this was recorded, if you decide to go back and look up when that video was released, depending on how far in the future you are listening to this, in which case, if you're listening to this in the year 2028, hi. At me on Twitter if that site still exists by then, and tell me you're listening in 2028, because to be honest, I'm not going to remember in just over 4 years from now. So if someone's listening to this in 2028, do it, because I'll have no idea.
3 or 4 people will probably kill me by that time.
I mean, no, but I'm serious. To whoever's listening to this in 2028, please do it, because then I'll just get this random notification and I'll be like, what the hell? And honestly, this podcast will probably be over by that time anyway. So depending on how much we decide to cover, that is. I mean, for all we know, we could be doing this the rest of our lives. How would you feel about that, RJ?
I'm a grown-ass man. I'm not talking about Season 5 of Powerpuff Girls.
We will
I'm
get
just kidding.
there.
I'll never feel about that. I will talk about Season 5
We
of Powerpuff
will
Girls.
get there. So, it's only a matter of time.
I'm never going to change.
Damn.
Yeah. It's not going anywhere.
All right.
Sorry.
Well, yeah. So if you're listening to this podcast in the present day and you're interested and you haven't, I don't know how you found this video or found this podcast. If you haven't at least followed me or RJ, and kind of just stumbled upon it. But after, the initial announcement, I really don't expect very many people to continue listening. So we'll see what happens. But if you are, for whatever, listening and you're interested, I did make an entire video kind of going over in detail how I feel about every episode of Season 1. But unfortunately, despite the fact that the video is 6 hours long, I only spend an average of about 13-ish minutes on each episode. So if you're wanting to hear a little bit more discussion and you're wanting to hear more input from another perspective besides my own, you've come to the right place, because that's what RJ and I are here to do with every episode of our show. In the last episode, we talked about Monkey See Doggy Do and Mommy Fearest. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about Octi Evil and Geshundfight. Is there anything you would like to cover before we jump into the first episode?
I don't know. I guess it's bordered by Kevin Kalir. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Who's also was for a time married to Megan Dunn. They actually did a pilot for
How would
that relate?
No. How would you feel if you messed up that guy's name right now? How would you feel?
I would
express your feelings. Tell the world. Tell all 5 people listening.
He can destroy me if he wants,
What do you mean by destroy? Please provide context, because that could be taken a multitude of different ways.
For the sake of everyone, I will not clarify what I mean by that. And
okay, you're
listen,
literally
it's up to you,
thing. You're literally doing the one thing that I'm basically asking you not to do. Please elaborate.
If I mispronounce Kevin Kalir's name, he can take me out for coffee. If I didn't, he could still do that.
He's going to take you for coffee, even though you messed up his name. So
Yeah,
you're
he's gonna be
disgracing
like-
him, and his way of kind of working that out with you is by paying with his money to buy you a coffee. That's
It's a
your
win-win.
solution.
He'll be
How
like-
is it
like-
yeah, for you, maybe.
He'd be like, "Oh, do you want creamer?" And he's like, "Oh, by the way, you messed up my name." I see that as a win, in my opinion.
Well, damn.
Yeah, but him and his partner at the time, Megan Dunn, they actually did do a Kitty Bobo show. Have you ever seen that? That's their
Kitty
pilot.
Bobo? Isn't that a wait, what
It's
is
really
that?
cool looking. It's from the early 2000s. It was in I think it's the Cartoon Network Big Pig.
Oh yeah, I've seen this. I
yeah,
remember
the
this.
pilot about the cat with the phone.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think Dante Bosco did the main character in that.
For some reason, I thought of like some Toonami show or something, but that was probably Bo instead. To be honest.
Yeah, no, it's not that.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, no, cute little pilot. I only mention her name because she did say that she worked on the show, so I'm not sure if she was working with Kevin on his boards. I'm just trying to give credit where credit is due, just in case. But very solid episode. Also, this board is available on Cartoon Network's Department of Cartoons feature from like 2000. And it's all archived, so if you want to look at that, you can. I posted some of those a long time ago on Art of Powerpuff, and there's a link to that, which will make it easy to find. This and actually, Geshundfight. I know I butchered that. I'm sorry. I never said that out loud.
Geshundfight.
Geshundfight. Yeah, right. That's on Department of Cartoons too, so you could see those boards.
Cool. Yeah, so kind of just getting started with the discussion of Octi Evil first. I kind of want to start with the title because I have an issue with it. RJ, you know this already. But the Powerpuff Girls, 90% of the time, has absolutely amazing titles. Some of the best titles, I would say, in terms of consistency and quality of episode titles in a cartoon, easily top 5% best consistency in naming of titles across any show, period, not just animation. The titles are amazing most of the time. Octi Evil is not one of those. Yeah, honestly, yeah. Take that, South Park. You take that.
Yeah, fuck South Park, yeah.
Well, anything is better than Doug. So as long as it's not Doug, because as anyone who listens to the show long enough will come to realize, this is an anti-Doug funny podcast.
It's slightly anti-Rugrats, but that's a personal thing. I don't like cartoon babies. Thing. I don't like cartoon babies. That's it. I like the show. It's just cartoon babies kind of.
I don't like cartoon babies or real babies. Like, honestly. But okay. to be honest, going back to the main point here, this is an anti-Doug podcast. So if you're a fan of Doug, GTFO and never come back because we won't respect you.
Damn, he told you to GTA 5.
GTA 6, actually. Yeah, that's one more than 5, RJ. Wrap your mind around that.
The future
I know.
Too much for me.
The future. Anyway, you know
no,
what? That was
you can't
terrible.
reference SpongeBob on this. I'm sorry.
I can reference the Bob of Sponge whenever I want.
SpongeBob doesn't exist yet. No.
It well, you're right. SpongeBob.
I love SpongeBob, but like, don't be disrespectful on this podcast.
Yeah. Besides, this was the OG before SpongeBob. This was the show that gave Tom Kenny his career, not SpongeBob. Just brownie points.
I guess, yeah, we did say that. Yeah,
we did, and it's true. So I'm cracking open a Dr. Pepper, by the way.
Very important.
It is. I will be sure when we get to the episode, Dynamo, I will make sure I'm drinking root beer. Because that's
it's root beer time.
It's root beer time. It's always root beer time.
What a week.
Always. Bubbles, it's Saturday.
What a week. It's root beer time.
Yeah. I quote that line so much for literally no reason.
Oh my God, I'm gonna start.
Dude, RJ, I literally kid you not. Every time I have an RJ, a root beer, god damn, every time I have an RJ, what? Every time I have a root beer, I grab it and I'm like, it's root beer time. Every time, guarantee, never fails. Same thing with pizza. Whenever I get pizza or I make a pizza or anything, I always say pizza time. Because that's a quote from Spider-Man 2, in case you didn't know that.
Oh. Okay.
He stole that guy's pizza. That's another good quote from Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, such a good movie. It still holds up 20 years later. Anyway, the point of that tangent was that Spider-Man 2 is a superhero movie and Powerpuff Girls is a superhero show. And to be honest, Octi Evil, to its credit, is at least a more unique title than something like Spider-Man 2, because that's just the name of the character, and it's the second movie, so there's really no creativity or passion behind the name of that film. Good film. Title has literally no substance or character to it whatsoever. So I can at least give Octi Evil that, because Octi Evil, at the end of the day, is an episode where Octi becomes evil by being possessed by him. So, like it kind of, it's one step above the equivalent of Spider-Man 2, where it's just the name of the character or something. But what's it a pun on? I mean, seriously, what is Octi Evil supposed to be a pun on? That's what I don't understand, because usually there's clever wordplay. I know we've already talked about Powerpuff Bluff, and that episode, as we kind of went on, that one doesn't really have.
I like that.
It does, and it at least has assonance to it, which is at least some sort of creative writing tool, for lack of a better term. Whereas Octi Evil, it's not any sort of alliteration or personification or
right.
Anything like that. There's no allegory to it. It's just straight up like especially with the term Octi Evil. Like what is that actually saying? What does that mean?
That's funny. That means nothing to a viewer too, because like, who the hell is Octi? If you're watching this for the first time.
Yeah, because you've never met Octi before, so a first time viewer is gonna have no idea. Repeat, sure. I mean, you get it by that point, but no, that's a very valid argument. It doesn't really stick. Like, when you think of episode titles, like Octi Evil is far from the first one you're gonna think of. What's the first episode title you think of, RJ, when you think of the Powerpuff Girls? What's the first one that comes to mind right now? What's the first
really
title?
Fun one is Down and Dirty.
There you go. Boom. And Beat Your Greens, which is tied to that one. And that one's just as perfect. Good. That one's so perfect, good. Yeah. It really is. There's so many good episode titles in the show. So like that's why I'm making such a point about this. Because
your favorite Catmandu is coming up in a minute.
We are not there yet. We are not there yet. We will get there, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
So do better, writers. I hope somebody got fired.
Well, they did, because season 2, 3, and 4 have amazing titles, just like season 1, and a lot of them are better. Definitely. I mean,
I was joking about the. No, I hope somebody got fired thing. I'm letting the viewers know. I'm not.
He's really absolutely serious. Well, in all fairness, he may be joking about the fired thing. I'm not joking about Doug. Seriously, that's the worst show ever. It's so boring.
Yeah, Doug should get fired.
Yeah, honestly, fire Doug. Doug's not. I mean, like, that's the most insulting thing. His name is Doug Funny, and the show isn't even funny. Like, that's just like pretentious. It's like, oh, give my last name to be funny because then people have to think I'm comedic, and it's like, ugh. Anyway, and Patty Mayonnaise, like, what? Get out of here. Anyway, tangent aside, Octi Evil. The Powerpuff Girls wiki seems to claim that Octi Evil is a pun on the term quasi-evil, or quasi-evil as I would pronounce it, but it's not Octi Evil, it's Octi, so assuming it's quasi. The Powerpuff Wiki
would tell me a lot of things.
Well, that's the thing, and we're probably going to dunk on the Powerpuff Wiki a lot on this show over the course
like a playful,
of
it's just episodes.
Kind of in a playful way, yes, because it's absolutely
they're very funny.
It's absolutely maintained by a younger demographic, and it shows. And we're not doing it in a derogatory way, the way I would towards Doug. It's playful, fun. But that reference just to quasi-evil, that just sounds like somebody reaching. And I did some research, and Austin Powers, that movie where quasi-evil, which is a term, is referenced, that movie came out after this episode aired. So it couldn't have been that. Like, it just straight up couldn't have been that. It's literally impossible. So I have no idea what it's supposed to be a pun on. It honestly feels like...
I have an amazing tidbit from the Powerpuff Girls wiki in trivia.
Oh, okay.
Ready? Him's plans are similar to Satan's plan. To tempt everyone into chaos and evil, exploiting weaknesses to destroy lives and turn others from God. This further implies that him is the devil in this show.
What?
That's what I like.
What do you
this
mean
implies that him is the devil.
What do you mean it implies?
I think him might be the devil from the clues that they give us.
Guys, could him be the devil? What? Not clickbait.
You know what? I have to say, I do love that about this era of and like 90s cartoons, because there was Satan in a lot of cartoons at this time for whatever reason.
Yeah, the red guy from Cow and Chicken, and
that's what I'm saying. Like they couldn't call him Satan, so like the crew, it's almost like being an asshole about it. I kind of love the red guy, him. Like if we can't call him the devil, we're just gonna call him the red guy.
Yeah.
Or on Rocco, one of my favorites is on Rocco's Modern Life. The devil is named Peaches. It's kind of just an FU to standards and practices.
Well, how about that?
But
yeah. So, moral of the story is I have no idea what the title is supposed to mean or be a reference to. But as for the episode itself, I guess to provide a little bit of context, as I kind of alluded to, basically this episode is about the three girls as siblings having their first sort of disagreements and bickering rivalry type deal going on. It's kind of the first episode to showcase this, in which Blossom and Buttercup are constantly at each other's throats about the way each of them tries to fight crime, with Buttercup taking a more offensive, direct, physical, aggressive approach, whereas Blossom's more strategic based and kind of like more methodical to the way she handles things. And it leads to them butting heads a lot, and this is something that'll continue to happen as the show goes on, whereas Bubbles, kind of being stuck in between the two arguing, just doesn't really enjoy it, doesn't want to be a part of it, and ultimately what happens is him sort of catches on to this and essentially uses Octi, which is Bubbles' stuffed doll that she carries around and spends a lot of time with in a lot of different episodes. I love Octi as a concept and as a design. It's so simple, but it works. I love his little hat.
T-shirts of Octi. I know they made like
seriously. You'd think Octi would be. Octi would be a bigger.
There's
icon.
one from Sega Toys from Japan, which is the most accurate one, I would say, and Trendmasters did one back in the 2000s.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd think that would be more of an icon for the show, that they'd merchandise that a little bit more. But oh well. But yeah, so him kind of speaks to Bubbles through Octi, and ends up kind of manipulating her and kind of persuading her to drive a wedge further between Blossom and Buttercup, eventually resulting in the two outright sort of, just distancing themselves from each other completely, to where it tears all three of the girls apart, and then him can kind of capitalize on that with the girls not really getting along, so that he can take over Townsville and, rule it with a giant stuffed octopus toy. So that's his plan.
And I mean, that's
giant
his
stuffed
thing.
octopus toy.
Him likes to play with people's emotions and drift people apart. Because like technically he's very powerful and he can do whatever he wants, but he wants to mess with people's minds. The trickery is the fun.
Not only that too, but like him's strategy of taking down the Powerpuff Girls is different from literally every other villain in the entire show, because all the other villains either A, are just trying to commit a crime and don't want to be stopped by the Powerpuff Girls or whatever, or like the Gangrene Gang, for example. They're not trying to defeat the Powerpuff Girls. They're just trying to fuck around in society, They're just trying to like do what they want, act as if they own the place, bully other people, and yeah, exactly. They're not trying to kill the Powerpuff Girls. They're just trying to get away with their teenage, juvenile delinquency, essentially. And then there's like Mojo, who is trying to destroy the girls, and there's like,
that's a classic arch nemesis, but this is,
Yep, and Princess, who basically wants to be their equal and then essentially take their place. Him wants to tear them apart, emotionally, mentally, socially.
Didn't Craig always say too that there was like a scale of villains?
Well, yeah, and I mentioned this in the video too, but there is a scale of villains. That's more of a scale of evilness and threat rather than like their method, though. Because Mojo, he describes Mojo's the perfect balance, and he is, because he can be comedic, he can be, aggressive. He's sometimes intelligent, he's sometimes reverts to his primal, tendencies and instincts. Like, he can be all over the place. He can be anything they need the character to be in any given episode. Him is almost always a serious, like the most evil, most threatening entity in the show. And then the Amoeba Boys on the other end are just a complete joke. They're never going to be a threat. They're never going to be like competent or anything whatsoever.
Unfortunately.
So, and that scale works because you've got, Princess kind of on the upper end of that scale versus, like, say, Fuzzy, who's on the lower end. Fuzzy can be threatening from time to time, but he is, at the end of the day, a country bumpkin, so really he's just, doing his own thing. And if the girls get in the way. Angry. Yeah, right. Like, he has one episode where he, like, gets aggressively angry in town and hurts a bunch of people. But most of his other episodes, he's not trying to take over Townsville. He's just trying to enjoy his yeah, he's just trying to enjoy his own peace and quiet. Like, he's keeping to himself, and people are finding ways to mess with that, you know? So, yeah, as far as him as a villain, I mean, I think this episode does a really good job introducing the character.
Yeah, I think so too. And what I was also going to say is Greg also compared him to Q in Star Trek, which I thought was interesting. They kind of work in similar ways, but what he's really based on is the Blue Meanie from the Yellow Submarine. It's pretty much the same voice, and I think it's great that they just created a character out of that. Like, we also talked about how the show just takes pop culture and like it mixes it into something new. So really, Tom Kane just came into the session one day and they just played the Blue Meanie for him, and that's where the character came from. But it's not just an impression of the Blue Meanie; it's a brand new character.
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
play with his flamboyant nature. They did an oral history, and according to Tom Kane, they had to tone down his boots a little bit because initially they were more like stripper boots.
that's fair.
This is
That
via
makes
Tom
sense.
Kane. And also, I think this is probably the creepiest him's ever been. Not that he hasn't done creepier plots or schemes, but just
Just
like
in terms of the way he's presented.
the way he's portrayed, yeah.
Like, the way he kind of acts and talks, and the way his body moves. The one that I immediately think of is the introductory scene where he's sitting on the couch, and the way he just kind of like shifts in different poses on that couch is like it's very ominous. It's very like, what's the I'm trying to think of.
It's unnerving. It's meant to make you uncomfortable every time he's on screen.
Yeah. Yeah, and it works. I mean, the voice effect's amazing. The background music is absolutely amazing. James Venable, once again.
Yes, yeah.
Fantastic theme. I love it. It's got such a 2000s like grunge electronic undertone to it.
And it's so satanic. I love it.
Yeah, like with the ominous kind of moans and creepy like soulless voices that just kind of fade in and out, and then like the very gritty kick in the percussion it's just such a good theme. It's so good. It's probably my no, I would say it's my third favorite character theme. Mojo and the Gangrene Gang, those themes are just amazing.
Those
I
are
love
good
both
picks.
of those.
Picks.
I would probably say Hymn's theme's my third favorite.
They're iconic.
Yeah, I think all three of them are, honestly.
And Jim Venable really has his work cut out for him because he has to create in these first 5 episodes themes that will be reused for the rest of the series.
And they all
so this
stick.
Is heavy duty,
I mean,
yeah. They all stick, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, they essentially serve to represent the character that they're associated with, and I think this song in particular really gives off that demonic vibe, that devilish vibe that Hymn exudes. Which is awesome. I mean, I may or may not have said it. Hymn is my favorite villain in the entire show. I get it. I know, RJ. It's super original.
I did call you a Norman for that.
Which, Hymn is amazing.
I love him.
He's got such good charisma. I mean, he's such that charismatic,
he's funny too.
Like, almost, in some episodes, almost a mustached twirling villain, you could say. This episode not so much. This episode he's very much like a very like he's a menace. He's a force to be reckoned with. I mean, he's out to tear the girls apart. Yeah. He's very serious and he's set on that. There's no sort of jokes really in this episode much, at least from him.
Which I find to be that's one thing with this episode. I do like it, but I also talked about Mommy Furious. I think this and Mommy Furious, I guess just because of the early episodes, they feel a little maybe too melodramatic. Even though I mostly like it, especially for this episode.
Well,
I mostly like what they're doing.
In all fairness, we'll get to it, but this episode is also balanced out by the other one. So
it definitely is.
It honestly works. I think it's a good pairing, to be honest.
Yeah, but really, as I was saying though, like him, this is the creepiest him has ever been. I especially like the voice acting. When he's talking through the doll, he just like speaks so slowly and like quietly. You kind of never hear him do that again.
Bubbles.
It's just very unnerving. It's great performance.
Yes, Bubbles. It's just Buttercup should be the leader. Yeah,
that's the best thing about this. This is just like it's a horror movie for most of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like you said, like it never comes back. It's something that him does in this episode only.
And I'm not that I'm mad about it. I like funny. funny is good, but it's just
No, but
it's just an interesting thing I've noticed.
well, it's also, I mean, it also kind of ties back to the whole tough love thing. I mean, it's true. Him never gives repeat performances. You know, he's a very much a one and done. He's not a Mojo who's going to try the same thing twice and change one thing about the plan, you know, or something like that.
And he's smarter than Mojo.
But he is. So,
and yeah,
you know, it's like, I respect that.
Oh, I love how this episode starts. The city of Townsville's
under beast fight. Yeah.
The city of Townsville's under attack. I love that.
Yeah, but well,
it's
the
so
way the
anxiety
narrator
inducing.
says it too. He's just like, the city of Townsville is under attack.
You think everything is chill for 2 seconds until that,
and then boom, there you go. You're just thrown into it.
You're just thrown into the action of everything,
which is awesome. It's such a good way to start an episode.
Oh, and I've learned by looking at the credits that Frank Welker is both the snake and turtle beast in this episode.
Oh, okay. Scooby-Doo voices the monsters.
He voices Scooby and the Dooby-Doo. Yeah.
Scooby Dooby-Doo.
Before this, I guess Gendy and Craig used them for Monkey and Dexter. He was Monkey.
Oh,
and
yeah,
a bunch of other
true.
small roles.
I forgot about that.
They like blew out his voice for one episode because they had him doing a duck and monkey at the same time.
Yeah, that'd do it. That would do it. Yeah.
Damn. Poor Frank.
Well, I mean, you know, it's not like it's his job to do that sort of stuff or anything.
And I am wondering, where were the mayor and Miss Bellum exactly? That did not look like the mayor's office.
They were just hanging out.
They were just hanging out, but he said he could get back to work now. Is the mayor just like, why are they in the mayor's apartment? I don't know. The mayor isn't rich though. Apparently, he doesn't have much money. We learned later that he pays rent to Princess Morbucks, which I think is hilarious. Do you remember that in Super Friends?
Yeah, that's right. That's true. I forgot about that.
He constantly just says he doesn't have money. I think that's hilarious. Yeah, and this is really the first Bubbles episode too.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about Octi Evil is it is a Bubbles episode, but not
It's
completely.
really about all of them, but
it is about all of them. Bubbles just happens to be the focal point because
you're right.
There's still a concept. There's still a conflict between Buttercup and Blossom going on throughout the entire time. I mean, between the end of the Snake Beast fight where Buttercup literally throws the monster at Blossom and sends her flying through like 4 buildings, to when they're fighting the Turtle Beast and Buttercup literally rips the water tower out off of the pillar or whatever, and then just like chucks it at the monster. Never mind the fact that she A, flooded a bunch of people's homes, and B, just put Townsville out of like drinking and cleaning water for who knows how long. You know, it's like that's super heroic of you, Buttercup. Way to go. Really saved the day
I was
there.
Thinking about it. I might be on Blossom's side. I hate to say it, but I think I
am. I mean, and doing me
Buttercup
wrong, I love
endangered
Buttercup.
people.
She's my favorite. She did. Yeah, I mean, she literally almost killed that woman.
Yeah, we love Buttercup, but she's a menace. Yeah, she probably kills people multiple times in this episode.
Yeah, well, like I said, she literally flooded a bunch of people's homes and put the entire area out of clean drinking water and like water.
Well, she also destroyed several buildings in the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, she's completely in the wrong. There's no 2 sides to this argument here. Blossom's completely correct.
there's no centrist answer for this.
It's just Buttercup being abrasive, centrist. Really.
Yeah, literally.
So
that old lady that she harms is apparently named Tilly, according to the credits.
Really?
That old lady really needed a name, and it's Tilly.
So they'll name the old lady, but they won't name the mayor.
No, the mayor's name is Mayor. He is named.
That's not his freaking name.
Also, I just think really good storyboarding where they throw the monster at the old lady.
Do you mean
when they're zooming in on her, like as it's about to hit her? I just think that's so cool. That's such a hardcore shot.
I love the shot with all like the speed lines or whatever.
Yeah, it's so it's like I like the intensity of it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I love about this episode. It's all emotion and all intensity. What did you say?
I was going to say, here's a question. Do you think that it was a conscious decision to have the woman pop up out of the wheel, or do you think they were told to do that?
I'm not sure. You know, I was thinking about that also, but I really don't know what they were going to.
Yeah, a couple months ago when I watched the episode for my video, I was really wondering about that. I was like, I wonder
Because they
if
kind of have her
they
pop out like right
chose.
at the end.
Yeah, it's like I wonder if they chose to have her do that, or it was more of like someone stepping in and say, "Hey, make sure you show she's not dead." But there's another old woman we'll get to later that does die. So
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a standards in practice thing, but that also is a little shocking actually. Even though the tone of this episode is dark.
yeah, because like when you see a lot of the other stuff that the show gets away with in this season, like you wouldn't think that they would have thrown that in intentionally when they're doing other things, but
Right.
maybe they
Yeah,
did.
right. There's
I don't
enough
know.
there's enough that's evil about this episode.
I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe like we're already kind of doing some evil stuff, so let's.
You know, right?
I don't
Yeah.
know. I
You know,
I really couldn't tell you.
let's not go too crazy now. That's really how the show gets away with everything. Like it's so cute that they get away with showing horrible stuff on air.
They really do. I mean, we've only touched on like a couple things, but there's a lot in this season, like just across the board.
Especially this season.
Oh yeah, well yeah, this season definitely gets away with it more than any other. They kind of
Something that sticks with me in this so much is stupid little girl. That is just ouch.
Little girl. I love that delivery. It's so good.
Oh man. He's like, they're fighting because of you, because you believe your toys could really talk and actually do what they tell you to. Like that's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
What a monster.
Yeah, Bubbles, you idiot.
I mean, yeah,
Poor Bubbles.
they break out. I would assume that they were on the second floor, but him breaks out.
Yeah.
Him breaks out of the house and is on the grass. I don't know how that works.
No, I mean, when you consider it from Bubbles' perspective, I mean, like it really sucks. I mean, like
no, that does
literally she's dealing with the fact that her two siblings are fighting with each other and won't talk to each other and won't get along, which is already upsetting her. And then like she turns to her doll thinking, oh my gosh, my doll like actually understands me, is going to help me through this difficult time I'm experiencing. And then actually I'm Satan. Bye. It's like, what the, like,
yeah,
oh,
I trusted
man.
you, Octi.
You betrayed me, Octi.
So
and
terrible.
now you're going to perish. That's my
you sound like him.
It is I, him. I am him, and I am going. No. I mean,
G.I. Joe is shot at the other studio.
I feel like I do a pretty decent him voice, to be honest. I mean, I've done it in. I haven't
You
done it.
have done it, yeah.
I've done it in a couple different videos, and I did it. I made like a Tumblr post once doing an impression. Like, I feel like I do a decent job. I don't know what should I say.
The rain in Spain flows mainly on the plain. I probably said that wrong.
I'm not gonna say that.
Oh, all right,
my him voice.
That's why you're not a voice actor, because of that attitude.
I mean, I'm not a voice actor. I'm a freaking accountant. Like, of course, I'm not a voice actor. I mean, there's a couple voices I feel like. No, in all fairness, I feel like I do have a couple voices I feel like I do a good job with. It's just that now that the pressure's here, it's like the pressure's here, so I can't just like pull it out. But like,
you're not really impressing your voice director here.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, I can do Fred Burger.
I like
nachos.
Oh, there you go, Fred
Yes.
Burger.
Yes.
There we go. Yes.
There you go. I can do that.
Gosh, what was it like, Fred, carrying Cartoon Network in 2008?
Yes.
But yes. I do have to. There's also another thing I wanted to highlight was in the background you hear Blossom and Buttercup arguing, and
you.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's just looped, but also they probably just had bickering on the script.
Yeah.
So Kathy and EG are just going. I mean, they don't.
If you listen to it, Blossom literally is like,
yeah.
No, you do it. You. It's like it's just nonsense.
It's just nonsense. But what I like at the end is just like Blossom saying, like she says something like, "Shut up, or I'll beat you up."
Yeah. Shut up, or I'll beat you up.
It's crazy. She's about
like,
it.
Wow.
She's not
real.
just the smart one. The professor's just so pathetic in this. He's like,
that's
stop
it.
That arguing.
You two need a timeout.
Like, they're just arguing. And he's like, stop that arguing. He's like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Oh, I forgot about that.
It's so useless. I love it.
Way to go, Professor.
Because if you think about it, he really can't control them.
No.
The fact that they listen to him at all is just a testament to how much good how much they are good kids.
Well, I mean, they respect him. I mean,
They
he's a good
respect him.
dad, you know?
He's a good dad.
He would honestly probably die if he fought them. So, like
Isn't it so messed up to think like the same person plays the devil and dad at the same time?
I don't think it's messed up. I think it's hysterical.
No, I think it's awesome, but it's just so funny to think about that. Like the evilest creature in the universe and like the most gentle person
Is
in that
also
universe.
their father.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Two
pretty,
very
it's
different
pretty good
performances. Tom Kane is so great in the show.
He is. I love his performance, as all the
Yeah.
characters really that he plays.
I don't know what they're gonna do for this new show with Tom Kane. If that ends up happening.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I guess they'll just have to find a really good voice match. But Tom Kane
Yeah,
is really good. And thankfully Tom Kane is fine. He just probably won't return to voice acting.
Yeah, that's what I've seen in reporting is he's just
And I'm glad
kinda
he's okay.
retired.
That's like
That's more important at the
yeah,
end
that's
of the
more
day.
important to me. You like Tom Kane.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're Tom Kane stands here.
He has really good incidentals too. He has a huge range. Just displayed a lot in the show.
Oh yeah, I mean the dude's Yoda. In
He's
a lot of
Yoda,
stuff.
but more importantly, he's Stanley Whitfield in the show.
Oh,
The news reporter, his most
yes.
known role. This is Stanley
Well.
Whitfield.
Yeah.
I wonder if somebody
Oh,
watching
man.
this for the first time is like, what
What
are
an
you guys
icon.
talking about?
Well, that's if you listening knew who Stanley Whitfield was when RJ said it, that's how you know you're a true fan of the show.
Right. I think
That's the
another thing
test.
I was just
Walk up,
thinking, I was like,
RJ,
do
me a
you're too
favor.
another thing I was thinking about, you're like a too much of a fan of the show. If you start calling Mojo Jojo Mojo all the time, like you know him. Like I'm sure we just
That's
say
what I
Mojo
call
all
him.
the time. That's
Yeah,
what we
I say
call him, but I
Mojo
feel
all
like
the
somebody
time.
who's less familiar with the show, I think they just call him Mojo Jojo.
They probably
Like
do.
I just say Mojo, like we're buds. He's Mojo. I know Mojo.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Not so fast, Mojo Jojo.
Yeah. The girls call him Mojo because they see him all the time. It's like, hey, Mojo.
Yeah. What do all the villains say to Mojo when they run out of coffee?
I don't know. What did they say?
Mojo?
Oh, Mojo. Mojo would hate
All right,
that.
anyway. He would. It'd be funny. It would do me a funny haha. So
I think it would. I think Princess would do that.
quality, my
Make fun
friends.
of
That
him.
is what is found in this cartoon.
Quality. And I have to say I love the ending.
Yeah.
Ending. I just love those like endings, like nonverbal endings.
I could
No
be
dialogue.
the leader. Yeah, no dialogue whatsoever, except for the fact that Bubbles literally says I could be the leader.
Well, at the
And
very
then they
when they wrap it up, but like I guess I should say the climax.
Okay, so yeah, that ties into the next piece that I did want to talk about. So that scene where Blossom and Buttercup arrive at the same time and they're like across from each other and it bounces back and forth and James Venables like swapping the drum and bass kicks and beats as it swaps back and forth and kind of flip-flops. I love how it's like two different sort of like drum and bass riffs and then they kind of come together and mesh together into a new riff as they kind of come to their epiphany. And he throws in this little like hint of like the main theme kind of in there on top of that. It's just so good. It's so
good. I love it. I love that there's no dialogue.
It's that that meme of Pacha from Emperor's New Groove where he's like,
yeah,
he holds up the finger. He's like, when the light hits that hill just right.
Yeah, no.
That is
literally
the scene. Literally, that is the scene. It's just perfect.
It is perfect.
So good.
Also, that that drum and bass, that the standard Powerpuff Girls drum and bass is taken it from the Funky Drummer. No, it's drum and bass. I said so.
It's
drum and bass. It's drum and bass. I think I could say it.
It's
nobody knows music more than me.
RJ, do you listen to EDM music or any
I listen
sort
to
of
drum and
electronic
bass
music? There you go. There you go.
I listen to some drum and bass.
Can you name a drum and bass band? Can you name one?
The Powerpuff Girls.
No, Pendulum. Get on my level.
Powerpuff Girls. A
lot
of people will say that they got into electronic music from Powerpuff Girls.
It's the reason I like drum and bass. It's the reason I'm a Pendulum fan.
You see, it inspires us.
It did.
Yeah, but that sequence
It
is
did.
just so awesome.
It is. It's fantastic.
It's so
Poor
awesome.
Bubbles. Now,
Yeah,
the
poor
one thing
Bubble.
I will say, the one, it's a minor grievance. It's not like it ruins the episode. It really doesn't, but it's a minor
Okay.
grievance. Why is it that when Blossom and Buttercup pull Bubbles out of Octi's grasp, him just lights on fire and disappears for no reason?
I don't. Yeah, I think he's just edgy.
Like,
What's
like
wrong with you,
he's
man?
like,
Yeah.
"What? You're working together? Better light myself on fire and cry." Like,
Yeah,
it's like,
these villains
okay,
are man
him.
children.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he was threatening all episode long, and then they fly away, and he lights himself on fire, explodes, and then just goes no, and then just like fades out. It's like,
But
what?
it's kind of perfect for the type of villain he is. Like that does leave you with
But
the eerie
like,
feeling.
all they did was fly away. They pulled Bubbles out of his grasp and flew away. They didn't punch him. They didn't fight him. They did nothing. They just pulled her away.
But
And
to
then
be
he
fair, that's
just
kind of
blows
him
up.
though. That's kind of him though, because
But
he
is
didn't
it?
expect them to stop fighting. So they gagged him.
But like, why wouldn't he attack them? Why wouldn't they attack him? Why would he just blow up on top of a building for no reason?
Because they had 11 minutes, Shadow.
Aha! I'm him, and I'm gonna blow myself up now. Like, no.
He was angry. Well, how would you
No,
feel
but
the
he
Powerpuff Girls
wasn't.
forged
He
your
wasn't.
plan?
He wasn't angry. He said, "What? You're working to like no." I can't be too loud, unfortunately. So I put a little Arnold spin to it there, which whatever. Ah, but
You sound like you're on Sesame Street.
I don't know what voice that is, but
I don't know. I wouldn't go near him. Though.
I forget what does Grover sound like again?
Hello, everybody.
Is
That's
that, is that Grover? Hello,
Yeah.
everybody. It's
Pretty
me,
much.
Grover.
That's you. Literally sound exactly like Grover right now.
I don't even remember what Grover sounds like.
No,
So
literally, that's
this-
Grover.
Well, I'll take your word for it because I honestly haven't watched Sesame Street in like almost 20 years. I genuinely don't remember what any of the characters sound like except like Elmo and
Oh, come
Ernie.
on. Okay, Ernie's this better.
But is that really what Grover sounds like?
Yes, no. Look it up after you finish the podcast.
No,
You
I'm
literally-
looking it up now. You know what?
You
I
sound-
don't care if we're in the middle
Yeah,
of
who
a
cares?
podcast. I need
Yeah.
to know what Grover sounds like.
Dude,
Grover.
you literally sound exactly like Grover.
I need to hear it.
It's a very simple voice, but he's funny.
I can. Oh my god, I did.
You got it perfect.
Damn, I didn't know I could do Grover. What the hell?
See, that's a credit.
Hang on, I'm trying to.
That's
find
an
like,
IMD.
a line where I can like reflect it. Hang on.
Somebody watching this, create an IMDb for Shadow and put this one credit.
No, please don't.
For this podcast. You voice Grover in this podcast.
Hi, everybody. I'm Grover.
Grover, what's your favorite Powerpuff Girls episode?
I like Buttercup.
Which color is Buttercup? Which one is
She's
that?
tough, like me. Grover, Super Grover.
See, you remember Super Grover.
Holy shit, I can do Grover. Oh my god.
Yeah, you see?
I didn't even realize that. I mean, and then I'm gonna like I say that now, RJ, but I'm gonna listen back to this in post and be like, oh my god, this is terrible. This sounds nothing like Grover.
No, you
It's
do
actually
sound like Grover.
garbage. Well, there you go. Well, Grover's not too far off from Fred Burger anyways, so it's like it's kind of in the same vein where it's like you get a lot of phlegm and it's kind of like this fluctuation.
Anything really
between,
annoying,
like,
you do best.
gruffy, like deep, gruffy, rough sounding voice to like a high pitched tinge to it.
Terrible.
You know, what other voices can I do? I can't even remember. I feel like if I do it right, I feel like I can do a decent like edgy Shadow the Hedgehog voice, but
Do Howard the
hence
Duck.
my fucking name. What does Howard the Duck sound like?
This guy doesn't even know what Howard the Duck is.
I don't. To be fair, I don't.
Howard the Duck is a
the
1986
Duck
American
voice.
superhero comedy film directed by Willard Huck.
You're literally just reading Wikipedia.
Oh, I'm not. Howard the Duck.
He literally just sounds like a normal guy.
So,
So I can't really do that. I mean,
you can't do Howard the Duck, then, what's the point?
I can do a pretty good Samurai Jack.
Can you?
Aku.
You probably shouldn't have done that. Sounded like him, but
Why?
you maybe you shouldn't have. I don't know. Bad
Why
taste.
can't I do a Samurai Jack voice?
Do Aku.
I cannot do a coup.
Yeah, you can. You sound exactly like Mako.
No, nobody can do a coup.
You know, Tom Kane
Greg,
apparently. Tom Kane actually auditioned for Mako.
really?
Yeah, that's Tom Kane. I'm glad Mako got it.
Yeah, Greg. Oh my gosh, what's his last name? Hang on.
Greg Berger.
Voice
Wait, no. Greg Berger is somebody
no,
else. That's a
it's
different.
Greg Baldwin.
Greg
Excuse me.
Baldwin, right?
He does it. He does a decent one, but it's not the same. It's not. It's not an exact like.
But he's the only one I can
impression
imagine
of
doing a voice match at all, though.
Mako. Yeah, like it's close. It's different, but it's close. But like you really can't replicate Mako's voice.
And I think Gendy, like, was smart enough to work with him a little bit
Yeah, 100%.
because Mako's not there anymore. But good work on both of them. But Mako's, irreplaceable.
Well, I'm pretty sure Greg Baldwin. What happened in between the Avatar episodes after Mako passed away is Greg Baldwin voiced Iroh later, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he just became the voice matcher for
for like
Mako.
several. I mean, I don't know how many other characters Mako voiced around that time or in shows that have come back since.
I mean, he's the guy to do it because he's been a huge fan of Mako.
Well,
since
yeah,
he was a kid.
I know he is. I'm just saying I don't know how many times he's done it is all. Because I only know of Avatar and Samurai Jack, and that's it.
If he's done it more than those 2 times, then that's pretty awesome. Good job, Greg.
I mean, it is. I just don't know what else.
I almost called him Greg Berger again. Greg Berger is like a different.
Man,
Greg Berger does voices for Garfield.
You couldn't even get the storyboard artist name right. You can't get Greg's name right. Like, come on, RJ, what are you doing? You couldn't get drum and bass right. Come on.
Drum and bass. Yeah, I'm ignorant. I'm sorry. I'm ignorant.
It is drum and bass.
It's drum
I'm
and
glad
bass.
I'm glad I taught. I'm glad.
Drum and bass. Sorry, it's drum and bass.
You take that back. You take that back right now.
He voices Odie. Okay.
Lorenzo Music voiced Garfield, and
yes, he did.
And Bill Murray voiced Garfield in the movie. And
yeah.
Lorenzo
Okay, let's
Music
end it there. Yeah, let's go back to the Powerpuff Girls. I don't care about Bill Murray.
I don't know, Morty. It's just just making small talk. I can't do a Rick voice, but dude, Gazor, fuck you, John. You dumb, stupid idiot. I love that. Gazorp Field is the peak comedy.
I love that.
Gazorp Field is the peak of comedy. I forgot
that was Tom Kenny. There is a Bill Murray. There's a Bill
Murray.
There's a Bill Murray and Lorenzo Music. I'm sorry. There's a Bill Murray and Lorenzo Music connection, actually, because Lorenzo originally did hit his character in the real Ghostbuster. He was in the real Ghostbusters, and Bill Murray's was like, why do I sound like Garfield? And, I think he got replaced. So, that asshole Bill Murray. Nothing against Bill Murray. Not too much of Bill Murray. Sorry, Bill Murray. But come on, man. You should be honored to sound like Garfield.
Bill Murray was in Space Jam.
Yeah, exactly. I think Garfield's a little better than that.
But does Garfield come on and slam?
I don't care if he comes on and
welcome to the jam.
Do whatever he...
But does Garfield believe he can fly?
No more.
Does he believe he can touch the sky?
This podcast is canceled.
This podcast is not canceled. What I'm doing is I'm bringing some life and some energy to it, because I listened to the first 2 episodes and there was a lot of times where I just didn't say anything. So I'm trying to make more of an effort to make things fun.
Most of the first 2 episodes.
Look.
Most of the first 2 episodes saying this was written by this creator, and he was
it was super like we need to be more lax. If I was thinking about okay, what of the podcasts I listen to, what do those podcasts do that make me enjoy it? And I'm gonna be honest, one of my favorite things about a lot of those podcasts is the tangents. I love tangents.
No, I love tangents.
I don't know why. They're great. They're fun. They spice things up and they make the conversation interesting, especially when you can segue them back in to an episode. But I just think it's fun to kind of listen to people.
No, I like your tangents. I just like spoiling your fun.
Well, you're mean.
It's working.
So, well, stop. Just stop. Why are you bullying me like this? I didn't wake up this morning and say, man, I sure can't wait for RJ to bully me on our podcast tonight.
Bullying Shadows Freak actually relates to Craig McCracken's vision.
Well, technically, I don't agree.
When Foss created the show sheet.
Hey, RJ. What was that?
I was just responding. I thought you sounded like we were doing like classic
24.
vaudevillians. We were doing a classic vaudevillian skit, and I was doing a dumb guy voice. I didn't know you were trying to do Patrick. That's my
Yeah.
bad, man.
Only sometimes there, RJ.
You can't
Only
expect the usual brand of
sometimes.
dumbness.
My name's not Rick.
Did you ever see that scene? There's like it's some. I don't even know what episode this is from, but there's like
Yellow.
I just know
Pink. It's the Fry Cook Games.
there's a no. I know the Fry Good Games. There's some scene in another episode where Patrick's just like, you can't expect my usual brand of dumbness. I like to change it up every once in a while and keep you on your toes. And I just know it
Keep you
because
on your toes.
it sets a lot of cartoon YouTubers off. I learned apparently.
Why is that?
He just got really angry. He's like, he's been pretending to be dumb this whole time. That's a problem apparently.
Well, to be honest, Patrick has a lot of like out of nowhere smart. One of my favorite. Patrick
I like that.
quotes
Yeah,
in
exactly.
general.
He's an
One of my
idiot savant.
all-time. No, but one of my favorite Patrick quotes of all time is "Pretty good, SpongeBob, but it's lacking basic construction, and your
that's right.
perspective leaves a lot to be desired." It's just
He
like,
just went back to art
what
school.
the hell? Where did that come from? Like, that's like
Right.
everyone loves to quote the Doodlebot episode for like me hoy me noy and like Finland and stuff, but it's like, no, the best quote in that entire episode is the fucking "it's lacking basic construction and your perspective leaves a lot to be desired." It's just so good. It's like, who
just an
wrote
asshole
this
in it.
show? It's the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob are so legendary, dude. It's just
Patrick Star, you were one smart shopper.
so yeah. Other than the fact that I don't really like the title and him kind of just disintegrating for no reason, I like the episode. Other than those 2 minor criticisms,
And let's be honest, Bubbles shouldn't be the leader either. Blossom's
really
the leader for a
shouldn't.
reason.
She is.
She doesn't
She's
even.
the oldest.
You don't pay attention half the time. No offense, Bubbles, we love you, but you don't. You're not focused.
But RJ, did you know the professor could fly?
That's right.
Yeah. No, I think
Bubbles is pretty much the fan favorite.
Yeah, she
I think
is.
officially because they had the poll in 2000.
Well, that's the thing.
Would
I brought it up before. It probably still holds true today, but do we know for sure?
As a kid, she for sure is my favorite, and Blossom was my least favorite, unfortunately. But I've changed now. I don't feel like I don't have a favorite. It feels like blasphemy to me now.
Honestly, I mean, pretty much same. I say Buttercup's my favorite because she was for the longest time, but I'm kind of on the same page where I like all 3 of them pretty much equally.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just say Buttercup because she always was.
I don't even know if I could like I would have said Bubbles for a long time, but I love all of them.
Well, and the other
How
thing
can I
too
do
is,
that
like,
to Blossom and Buttercup?
I absolutely see myself in Blossom more than the other 2, completely. You know, I'm a total organizational, freak. I mean, I always need a plan. If I don't have a plan, like my mood is ruined, and that's no joke. If I don't have a plan, I make one, and when my plan gets messed up, it ruins my mood. I hate it. So I am very much like that, 100%.
I like to say I have the worst traits of all 3 of them.
Wow, that
and depending
sucks.
on who I'm around,
sorry.
I'm a Blossom. Yeah, feel bad for me, everybody.
That really sucks.
Very dysfunctional.
Yeah, no kidding.
Stop looking at butterflies or trying to fight crime.
All right, well, do you have anything else you want to say about Octi Evil, or should we go ahead and move on to Geshundfight?
We can move on.
Okay, so the second half, episode 3B of season 1, is Geshundfight, a pun on the term Gesundheit, which is a German term that people usually say when right after somebody sneezes, which is relevant to this episode because it is about the Amoeba Boys, essentially trying to commit a crime, getting sick, and in turn creating a virus that gets everybody else sick. And the Powerpuff Girls have to find a way to get everybody unsick. So right away, the pun and the clever wordplay of the episode title is right there. And it's great because, again, the phrase being a German term that people say when... I don't know what it actually like directly translates to. I actually kind of want to look it up now. So I'm going to do that because I can do that because I can. It literally means health. It's formed by a combination of gesund, healthy, and height, hood, Wishing a person good health when they sneezed was traditionally believed to forestall the illness that a sneeze often portends. So there you go. That's from Merriam-Webster. That's what Gesundheit
Can I say
translates
something
to.
quite that's kind of related but also isn't?
Sure.
Cover your mouths, people. If you're an adult listening to this podcast and you don't cover your mouth when you sneeze in public, please do that. All right, thank you. We could go back to Powerpuff.
You know, you would have thought, when the pandemic of 2020 occurred,
right? Oh my God.
that people would have learned that.
They should have known it already, but
not to get, I shouldn't even say topical because it's not anymore. But
I don't care. I don't care.
You would think people would have fucking learned.
Cover your mouths, guys. It's not hard at all.
It's the same level.
Preferably on your arms.
Sneeze into your fucking elbow. Don't sneeze into your
If you have a
hands.
tissue or napkin, please use it. Because I do hear some people might say, "Oh, I'm gonna get snot on my." Well, I don't want it on me. Like, if you're gonna get germs, get them on yourself and not
get it on your fucking arm, and then grab a cloth or a tissue or something and wipe it off. Like it's on the same level as like not using your fucking turn signal.
And another thing, get an apartment.
Why?
Pay your rent. I don't know. No, I'm just lecturing everybody who's watching this.
No, I mean, in all fairness, if your landlord's a piece of shit, don't pay your rent. Like,
that's true. I agree with that.
But that's not a black and white.
I just want to
using your turn signals is black and white. If you're not using your turn signals, you're just a selfish piece of shit.
Shadow, I wanted to wag my finger at people. I want to be an old head.
Then tell them to use their fucking turn signals because they should. There's never an excuse for you to not use it.
Use your turn signal.
Thank you.
Yeah, and cover your mouth.
It's true. People. RJ, name one example where you shouldn't use your turn signal when it's expected.
When you see kids.
Why shouldn't you use your turn signal?
I'm not going to take kids seriously.
How are the kids supposed to know you're turning? How's the person behind you or across from you going to know you're turning? If there's
I'm not going to communicate with minors because I'm not one. So how about that?
I'm going to subject you to watching the entire first season of Doug.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Again, I'm ignorant. I'm sorry, guys.
No, I mean, I'm being a little hyperbolic here, but in all seriousness,
no, it was straight ignorance. But yeah, cover your mouth, please.
Anyway, Geshundfight. The pun here is obviously they changed height to fight to represent, the action, the superhero.
I like it.
Ness of the show. But it's also related to the fact that not only is there a virus in the episode that gets people sick, but it's literally created by single-celled amoebas, which are the main villains.
Oh, yeah,
it's like, it's such a creative idea. It's such a creative idea, especially as a quote-unquote introduction to the episode, because the Amoeba Boys obviously showed up in Crime 101, which we've already talked about, as kind of like our first real introduction to their characters. Technically, this is the second time. I don't count the whoop-ass short because they just show up for like 2 seconds and then get melted in the sun. But
Crime 101 is when they start acting like themselves.
Right, exactly. And that's like the first real instance of them existing, but a lot of people probably never saw that. So this is the first introduction to them in the official series. So whatever. Anyway, semantics. Point is how do you feel about this episode, RJ? What do you think of it?
I like it. I think really the key, I don't know, it's funny. I like it. I really like the art direction. I guess that's what sticks with me the most. It's just because, Octi Evil leaves such an impact, but I also do remember that I like this one every time I watch it. I
think one of my favorite things about the episode is when the city gets sick. I just love the horizon, like the sky and like the drawings of like viruses and just viruses that are kind of like floating in the background of the sky. They're not like clouds. They're not representing clouds. They're just literally just drawings of viruses. It's cool. I love that detail. And just like the overall like sickly blue shading that they give the city, because when you watch the opening portions of the episode, the city's full of bright yellows and pinks and a lot of green, especially when they're in the park. Like it's bright and colorful, and then the virus happens and then it becomes foggy. It becomes very like blue and pale and sickly, dull. It's like very, the mood of the environment and the way it's colored directly influences the interpretation of the events. It's
a place for good, clean folks to have good, clean fun.
Well, in a lot of episodes, I would argue that the city itself is a character. And it essentially represents the city, not just people, but the city entirely being sick, being infected, with a virus of some kind that's causing everybody to go inside, basically creating a pandemic. I mean, there's literally the scene or the quick montage where the girls fly around looking and there's nobody to be found. I mean, there's that one shot where Bubbles flies under that bridge and that piece of paper just flies by and there's nothing. It's just absent, which you have a whole new perspective after having lived through a pandemic where you've literally driven on roads and seeing that nobody's anywhere to be found. So, it's cool. Not that pandemics are cool, but cool to have a real world experience to tie the episode to. That sounded better in my head. Pandemics are not cool. They suck. And I hope we never have another one in our entire lifetime.
I hope so.
But it makes me appreciate the episode on that aspect more, now having lived through one. Cause you've seen it in episodes of shows and movies and video games and whatnot. Like another example I thought of was Spider-Man 2018 for PS4 and PS5. That also depicts, in a way, sort of, kind of like a virus. And it's been done to death in media across the board. But now having lived through it in real life to kind of give you that perspective that you can compare it to, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting to kind of tie that together.
Yeah, when stuff happens, you go back to these episodes and you kind of get another perspective on it. I remember this episode got a little attention on Twitter after the pandemic. And I think there was a clip going around of everybody getting sick, right? I might have posted it, but there's a clip. I just remember one of the quote tweets of the replies is just like, the guy who sneezed on the apple was a bitch. And I agree with that. He is.
Yeah, he didn't cover his mouth.
Didn't. That should teach people a lesson too, but
you'd think.
I go outside and I don't know. Yeah, the whole sequence is great. It reminds me of, I mean, obviously UPA, but kind of like UPA's like or like any short cartoons that they'd made in like the 50s or 40s for like workplaces or something. Like they'd make workplace, like, I don't know, stuff about workplace safety or something, films like that. That's kind of what that whole sequence reminds me of.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
It's just so, it's clearly communicated cartooning that's fun, amusing, and not dialogue. I do like the show's occasional lack of dialogue. That was really Gendy's obsession. He's just like, I just want I just want these shows without dialogue now. That's been his mission in life.
And that's when he went to make Samurai Jack.
I always say Samurai Jack is like Powerpuff Girls for artsy college students.
Kind of,
right? Yeah. I mean, I'm more into Powerpuff, but Samurai Jack.
Yeah, they're not
wrong.
quite.
Can't go wrong with that. No, they're not the same show. I was gonna say, like, think about it, because I remember I said this before to you, I think, but like, I think one of the reasons I like Powerpuff is I like Craig and Gendy's work, and I feel like this show kind of has what I like from all of their shows in one. Especially like if you think of like this is in between Dexter and Samurai Jack, so it has like the comedy of Dexter, but it also has the artsiness of Samurai Jack, and it's like in the middle.
It's definitely,
it's kind of the best of both worlds.
A lot of the episodes definitely show the kind of beginnings, kind of where the seeds were planted as far as how Gendy wanted to direct action a little bit more than, I mean, Dexter had action too, but I feel like it definitely starts to come out with a lot of the way that Gendy kind of had some input on action scenes in Powerpuff that kind of led. And there's definitely episodes we'll get to in a little bit that kind of showcase that better than these ones do. But no, I definitely agree. This definitely acts as sort of a transition from Dexter to Jack for him.
Well, this was Gendy's first real chance to do more action than he did in Dexter, because there actually is a ton of action in Dexter, but now that they're doing a superhero show, Gendy, like minute, but like now that they were doing a superhero show, I think this Gendy saying like, oh, this is my chance to do superhero stuff, get a little bit of action. I think he really was figuring out his action sensibility. I would say the difference between this show's action sensibility and Jack's is the action is all fast in this one. In this show, there's fast cutting. It's almost like kind of taking a cue from anime with the fast cutting, and Samurai Jack is like slowed down, like actual choreography.
Yeah, it's a lot more methodical, whereas this is very much fast paced, kind of just bam, 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 action, action, action.
And the music supports that too.
100%. Well, and Venable did the soundtracks for both shows, so
He didn't come back for the Samurai Jack reboot for whatever reason. I'm not sure why.
No.
Still,
Yeah, which was
great score for the
unfortunate.
original. How was the score in
Yeah.
the reboot?
It was all right, but it's also been like what 6 years since the last time I watched season 5, so like I really don't remember it.
I haven't even seen it yet.
It's all right. It starts really strong, and then it kind of falters at the end. But if you want a different ending than the way season 5 ends, just play the Battle Through Time video game that they released in I think 2020.
Yeah, I know that's a point of contention.
And it basically canonizes a true final ending instead. So there you go.
Going back to the Mew Boys, what do you think about I don't know how much we talked about them in Crime 101, just as like
I don't think we
characters.
did really. I think they're fine. Definitely understand why they only ever had 4 episodes across.
That's
the
what I was
entire
gonna say. Is
series.
like I actually like them, and Chuck McCann has like the 3 characters. It's very fun, and I like their bickering
especially because he gives
bantering.
each of them a different personality and a different inflection in the way that they talk. So like it
Yeah,
definitely
very talented.
works.
You know, Chuck McCann. We talked about. You see, there I go again with the names. Chuck McCann. You know, just a
RJ, I
staple of
can't. You had one job, RJ. You had one job.
ignorance. Chuck
Chuck
McCann.
McBass. Chuck
Chuck,
McBass
Chuck
and
McBass.
Borger McBass.
Miss Bass was a staple. You know, he was just a staple in kids programming for a long time. Did a lot of stuff for Hanna-Barbera. He had puppets. He had his own program for a while. But you know, he's in Powerpuff Girls as those characters, and yeah, you know they're cute and stuff. But I don't need to see them all the time. I feel, and yeah, you look at the show and they're just like they really only showed up 3 times. They're barely in the later seasons.
Yeah, they're in one episode. Divide and Conquer.
Yeah,
It's the one episode.
which yeah,
That's
you
it.
only really need them once in a while.
But also, in all fairness, I mean, they literally show up in Geshundfight, Birthday Bash, You Snooze, You Lose, Divide and Conquer. That's it.
I like them birthday
4
bash.
episodes.
Wow. Oh,
4
that's
episodes.
right. Yeah, so they weren't
They
in
don't-
season 3 or 4 at all.
They don't show up in season 3 or 4 at all, aside from some cameos and like some quick shots.
They're even less used than Fuzzy.
Yes. Oh, Fuzzy's used in almost like 20 some episodes.
Yeah, but you know, yeah, Fuzzy's a little bit better.
At one point I went through and I did count like how many episodes each villain was in, and it came to be obviously Mojo had the most. And then him was like second. I think Princess was third, or the Gangrene Gang was third, and then the other one was fourth. But
I would
yeah,
think Mojo
Fuzzy,
has I mean Princess has the second amount of appearance, second to Mojo,
I think him technically had more.
Really? Okay.
Well, Princess doesn't even have any episodes in season 1, and him has 2.
Well, yeah, true.
That gives him a 2-episode lead right there. If I wanted to, I could sit down and go through and do it again, but I'm not.
And to be
gonna do
honest,
that right
I'm not
now.
looking at the series. I'm not really mad. I don't think anybody got snubbed in screen time. Really, I think it's fair. I don't think Mojo's overused because he's perfect.
Except Sedusa. I really think Sedusa deserved more episodes.
Maybe.
You may not agree, but I think she was. I think she
Well,
had a
that's
lot of
what I was
potential
saying
as a
before.
villain.
She did like her. I loved her episodes are great, but she's just not as flexible as a character. She's just not as much fun as.
Well, there's only
someone
3
like
episodes
Mojo.
to go off of. I think there's
That's
plenty
true.
of room for them to give her a character. They just didn't.
I wonder if that's
You
also just like a standards thing. Like they're just like you could have her, but we don't really want her all the time.
I'm not saying she has to be there all the time. I'm just saying she could have had more than 3.
Well, no, I'm just
She could
saying.
have had
I
one
wonder
episode
if
a
it was a
season.
standards and practice thing. It's like we don't want her. We don't want to see her all the time.
Yeah, but 1 episode a season isn't asking for much.
That's not. You're right. Even though they definitely peaked with some things amiss, I believe.
Because they only ever made 3. So there's not much to compare to each other. Like they could have made a better episode than that. Who knows?
Seduce's
didn't.
got herself a shooter.
Because she literally only showed up in the first 2 seasons, once each, and then she was gone until the end of season 6, basically.
And even like the season 6
Like
appearance
the
was kinda
Rowdy
just like
frickin' Rough Boys got more episodes than Sedusa did.
yeah, maybe they appeared too much.
Well,
they probably got a little
yeah,
more
because they Craig and whatnot left the show to go work on Foster's. I mean, they still consulted on it, but season 5 was not in Craig's hands so much anymore, and they're like, man, let's
Well,
bring
they
back
didn't
the
go
Rowdy
against
Rough
him. They
Boys.
still had to get his approval.
But like Craig specifically is gone out and said like, yeah, I intended for them to be one and done.
I feel like I want to open the can of worms of the Rowdy Rough Boys when we get to that mostly, but they're fine. I don't know if they deserved all those appearances.
Well,
They're
season 5
cool, but they're
sucks,
not.
so
I don't think they're just not as interesting as a lot of other villains.
I'm just saying, why did Rowdy Rough Boys get more episodes than Sedusa? It's just stupid. Sedusa was way more interesting as a villain.
I think so too. Yeah.
There's so much more you could do with her.
And yeah, Rowdy Rough Boys are really more one-hit wonders because I don't think any of their appearances lived up to the original episode.
Not even close.
Yeah, honestly, I
Not
think
even
I liked
close.
the Bubble Boy episode they did. I thought that was fun, but it's not, doesn't match the original at all. Not that it's a contest, but
It's
Oh, I
definitely
do like.
inoffensive compared to others.
I guess, yeah. I would
Eat
say,
it, eat it, eat it, eat
yeah,
it.
yeah. I like some of it. Beating up for people for fun is really fun.
Yeah. Flowers are pretty. Dumb.
Dumb.
Dumba. You don't spell Dumba with a B.
It's so stupid. That's the thing. I like that they
Like, it's
brought them back and made.
inoffensive.
I do like that they're meatheads. I guess if you have to give them a character, I guess it's that. But like, I like the gang Green Gang better as that, to be honest.
And the Amoeba Boys.
And the Amoeba Boys.
The Amoeba Boys are just they're innocent dumb, not aggressively dumb. That's the key difference there.
I like the line "produce the produce."
Produce the produce. That's pretty good.
And Slim is terrible.
The line. So I mentioned it before, but basically I watched the show as a kid, fell out of it for like 8 years, and then I basically quote unquote rediscovered the show in 2013. So, when I was watching through the show in 2013, the first couple episodes I enjoyed, and it was like very much a nostalgic rush for me. But the moment that really sold me on the show, that basically told me, it spoke to me and told me, yep, I'm committed. I am watching the entire thing the whole way through, every single episode, was the moment where the girls land in front of the Amoeba Boys, and the Amoeba Boys, boss man just basically picks up the piece of paper and goes, "So you want to see a crime?" And they're like, yeah, okay, sure. And then he fucking takes the piece of paper and just throws it on the ground. It floats down. There's this super dramatic orchestral music. It's like, and he just goes, "Littering."
They thought they did.
And then it's just so well delivered, and it just completely speaks to the sheer stupidity of these villains. And Blossom's just completely like straight faced, like non-reactive emotion.
I love that. I like her. She's looking up. It's like a perfect reaction shot.
She's like, sorry guys, you're gonna have to do better than that. It's like that just had me reeling the first time I saw it. And then they're like, "No, wait," and then they go to the park, and then he does the same thing.
And just the fact, because these superheroes are like little girls, they just have so much patience.
They really
Blossom
do.
and Bubbles, at least.
Yeah, I was gonna say at least those two. But
Buttercup, as we see, doesn't have that much patience.
No. But,
man.
Yeah, that was kind of the moment that really sold me on the episode and the series as a whole.
What do you think about their theme? I think their theme is pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah. I love the kind of like it definitely has that kind of germy sound to it with the like,
and it's also like, they're dull.
Yeah. Yeah, which definitely reflects their personalities for sure.
It's a hit. I like it.
But that's the thing. That's what I love about like all of Venable's like themes that he comes up with the characters, is he adds sounds to them that sort of reflect the character's personality or design. Like we mentioned, the Amoeba Boys theme definitely sounds very germy. Hymns has ominous voices to it and is very grungy, very like dark undertones, like almost like an Underworld-esque theme to it. Then you've got Fuzzy Lumpkins. We haven't gotten to him yet, but he's got this country banjo vibe to him. Princess has this very pristine piano playing to it. And then it's even later on when we get to Mr. Mime, it's got a freaking calliope to it. It's just like, it's amazing. Like he always makes sure to either add like a signature sound or tone or style to each villain's theme, and it always comes together. It always works. Even with like the disco theme of the Boogeyman, which we'll get to pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
Like, all of Venable's character themes for the villains, they're all good. Like I can't think of one that isn't.
Very memorable, yeah.
even Roach Coach's like violins that were basically, I don't know what the word is, it crescendoing maybe, I don't know, wherever they're like they're descending, where it like the violin hits a high note and then descends a little bit and then hits a high note and descends a little bit, kind of reflecting like the anxiety and the prickliness of like cockroaches crawling over everything. Like it's like Seduce is kind of like, which I love. I know we talked about it already, but I really want to emphasize that song that plays when Sedusa is stealing the jewels from the mayor's safe over the phone, that only plays that one time and then never again for the entire series. I wish that came back, because that is so cool, and it only plays for like 15 seconds metal, and then it's just gone. It's gone forever. It disappears. It never comes back. And it's like, man, I would have loved to have heard that, like that theme in full.
I love the feeling of it, yeah.
There's a different song that comes from the game Chemical Extraction on the N64 and PlayStation 1 that represents Seduce's theme, but it's not that song. It's a completely different theme. I wonder where that came from.
Was that just like something
That's what I'm wondering, because that theme never shows up in the show, the one that comes from the game. So I have no idea where that theme came from. If it was made specifically for the game, or if it, like you said, it was unused and it never actually just never had a place to appear in the show. You want to know why? Because Seduce only had 3 episodes. That's why. Which, it's like, it would have been really cool to hear that theme come back. But while we're on the subject of villain themes, I just wanted to kind of touch back on that again. But yeah, no, overall, I do enjoy the Amoeba Boys theme. I think it's very fitting of their characters, for sure.
Nice. I also like that the Amoeba Boys hear the Powerpuff Girls theme. Like, they can hear the electronic music.
Yeah. Do you hear that? Yeah. Yeah.
Like, everybody's so excited.
They can break the fourth wall.
Yeah, right? I like the mayor getting talked down to on the hotline.
Oh, yeah, right?
He's such a man-child. But it does establish, like, that is something the mayor would do. They're just like, that's a typical mayor thing. Like, he would just call saying, "I'm sick." Like, I mean, he does later in the series, he calls them just because somebody stole his sunflower seeds. And sunflower seeds were the new pickle.
For some reason.
In that
one episode, and never again.
Sunflower seeds are in, and then pickles were back in at the end, so stupid.
That episode's garbage, but we're not there yet.
Oh. Yeah, you're probably right. I do love the town is in ruins, and Bubbles says everybody's sleeping. It's so sad and innocent. And this is like season 1 Bubbles, so like the voice is like very cute. That's why Tamara evolved a bit, and
she really did. Like, listening to season 5 and 6 Bubbles to season 1 and 2 Bubbles is like completely different.
Not that it's so drastic, but she just develops a thing where like she freaks out and screams a bit. And also she has a way of pronouncing things that she kind of develops over the course of the series, which is very funny. But like I don't know, I do like this early, more sincere characterization too. It's all good though. And also she does say, "I gotta go save people" and stuff, which was used a lot for the products.
Oh yeah, it was, absolutely.
It's adorable. "I gotta go save people" and stuff. What other superhero would say that? Buttercup has a watch because she doesn't have any time for this.
Yeah. That's right.
I love it. And Buttercup, what do you think about Buttercup's freak out? Justified?
I mean, yeah, they were pretty annoying.
He's like, "You guys stink and we don't ever want to see you again."
Yeah, get out of town.
Terrible. And the justification for her was that they made me mad. I think the sick professor is awesome. I think that is such a funny drawing. Tom King doing this
fan. I think the voice impression is great, but I'm not a fan of gross out humor, so I don't really care about it. But
was that gross? I think it's a funny drawing.
Well, that's the thing, RJ. Apparently, I'm wrong, because everybody tells me I'm wrong for not liking gross out stuff. So I guess I'm just wrong.
Yeah.
For
get off
having
your horse,
taste. I'm sorry that I find an unappealing thing unappealing.
What do you like to wash your hands?
How weird of me. Yeah, and you know what else I do? I sneeze into my elbow.
Oh, what do you bathe? What's wrong with you?
It's almost like there's this thing called hygiene that I guess a lot of people on the internet just don't understand the concept of.
In real life, or anywhere, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. Like,
why can't everybody just be smart like us?
Well, I mean, you're sitting over here calling it drum and bass, so like you really don't have a leg to stand on here. You really don't.
The guy talking about children's cartoons calling things drum and bass. Certain things I've just never said out loud before.
Yeah, and for good reason.
It shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, I used to call nostalgia Neglostia. So I used to say shit in public. I used to like, "Oh man, I don't. I was because I was an idiot. I just couldn't have sounded it out for whatever reason. I'm just like,
No
man, I have so much.
glostia?
You know, I was just like, man, this gives me so much glossia. And people were just like, what? It's like, oh, God bless him. Because like, what does that mean? And also, I was a kid, so I couldn't have had Naglostia for anything really. So much Naglostia. Remember, remember Playhouse Disney Naglostia. Yeah, oh my
Good
God.
on the glostia.
Yeah, so the girls in this, they basically pass out and die at the end. Oh, and
Yeah.
there's a scene in this that I remember. There was a video on the internet because somebody thought Blossom cursed. She thought they thought for whatever reason Blossom just said the F word on this because she says we have to get back right away and lock you up, and they thought she said you have to to get you back right away and fuck you up, and it does sound like she says that, to be quite fair.
I've never heard that.
I have, yeah, I've heard. I mean, it does sound like that, and I just remember what's funny about it is the video that it was from on YouTube says like this cursing in Powerpuff Girls. It's it's a poorly recorded clip. It's of that scene of saying we have to lock you guys up, and then like there was like a they made it in Windows Movie Maker, so there was like a disclaimer at the end. It was just scrolling text like I am against all forms of swearing in children's cartoon. Like this is disgusting.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I need to see if this video is still up. You know, they're trying to protect us and can't just have Blossom swearing. As if, you know, Cartoon Network would just allow her to say the F bomb for no reason. I'm sure there's somebody who would try to like gaslight people into believing like, oh man, the 90s were so cool because they let kids cartoons swear, which they didn't. And I really like the scene where they have to beat them up, quote unquote.
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's a really I think that's a funny scene. I like the music is just slow, like they're just not cool at all in that scene, and Buttercup just stares at them. I remember another comment on something. Somebody said like, "Damn, like Buttercup must have been ugly then." So why did he just fall back like that? I think it's. I also like it's very fun UPA like cartooning when like they're giving the town the antidote and they just walk in and out and it's very simple.
Mm-hmm. Oh well, yeah. It's like I've got the antidote. Great.
Great.
Da, 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 da. All right, you're free to go. It's like, well, that's the thing. It's like the episode really just wraps up in like 30 seconds. It's like,
So I mean, they don't need anything else, right?
no, I mean, that's why it's like, it's funny, but it's
It's
like,
funny.
it's like,
He just kick it like
it's
just straight up quicks
it's
him
just
out.
like, all right,
Yeah.
you're free to go. Bye. Just slam the door. And he's like, I knew you should have stolen the orange or taken the orange or
I love
whatever.
that. Amoeba Boys, you are so dumb.
Yeah, that's just it. That's literally what he says. It's not even like there's no clever wordplay. He's like, you are so dumb. It's
I think
like,
yeah,
oh,
that line
okay.
delivery is hilarious. He's like these poor guys. Oh my gosh. Also, weird thing I've noticed in the credits. I think this is the first series appearance of Miss Keen, right? The first time we see Miss Keen in the show.
Yes.
If you're ignoring the pilot.
Yeah, very
So
briefly when she's with the kids,
there's
but
a
yes.
credit under Tara next to Tara Strong's name. It says Bubbles / teacher. Very interesting, isn't that? Who is this teacher in question? Is that supposed to be Miss Keen? Miss Keen doesn't talk in this episode. Maybe there was a line cut
No.
out. Maybe Tara Strong was supposed to play the teacher, but why was that credit there? Was there a teacher in this episode? Yeah, that's
Were
right.
you in this episode?
I was in this episode actually. I'm the ice cream man who died. I don't know if Miss Tara Randolph was meant to play the teacher.
Right back before she had the name
I
Strong.
remember I was such an idiot as a kid because I read credits and like I wasn't using the internet yet, so I was just like I was going by the credits, and I was just, like, after a while, I noticed, wait a minute, this Tara Randolph, like, she's Tara Strong. And I was like, I thought it was two different people. I was like, who the fuck is this poser who's voicing Bubbles now? I mean, she sounds exactly like Tara Randolph, but who is she? Like, you're not Bubbles. Like, who do you think you are, Miss Strong, Mrs. Strong? I didn't know she was Mrs. Strong though, because I guess I couldn't just comprehend the I couldn't comprehend marriage as a child or something. That didn't make any sense to me. So I was just wondering who this poser was who replaced Tara Randolph and what happened to Tara Randolph. And I'm sure anytime I saw her name in cartoons, I'm just like, hey, there's that jerk who took a job away from Tara Randolph.
I love how you're still going on this.
I'm sorry, this was a really real thing to me. I have thought about this. I was like, who is this woman? Like I saw the credits, I was just like, wait a minute. It was like CSI to me. I was like, who is this lady? Tower Strong. Yeah, you could count how many times I said Tower Strong in this podcast.
Tara Bass.
Tara Grover the Bass. Also, yes, this was boarded by Dan Crow. Just
There it
saying that, I
was.
think.
You finally gave someone credit.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Half an hour and 40 minutes into talking about the episode. Good
yeah,
job, RJ.
whoopsie daisy.
That's your one job, is to tell us who boarded the episode, and you blew it.
You see, you relax me too much. I'm supposed to be the nerd about this show. But yeah, he's a bird artist. He mostly does layout keys on this show for background layout keys. So basically, it just means he draws the backgrounds. Like his pen, he pencils the backgrounds essentially, which very good work. He works with Gendy and Craig a lot, and I believe at this point he's doing children's book. I'm not sure if he still does animation. Like I'm not sure if he does both at the same time, but he does do. I know he's a children's book author. Very good. And also another layout key guy, background layout key guy on this is Jim Worthy, who's immortalized in the show as Jim.
Yeah, we'll get to that one.
Oh yeah. What? Oh, Carl, Jim. For Jim. I think Rainbow the Clown is just like a busy guy. He's a busy guy and he's popular till his scandal, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then a good thing you got hit by a truck.
Imagine being Rainbow the Clown. Like, imagine what your Wikipedia looks like after that.
That must suck. Like
that must suck, yeah. And also, I don't care about what happened to him, but we'll get to that when we do that episode. That's very much a part of that discussion. We will talk about that. And also, I do have to credit I credited the board artists, but it did say in the credits that John McIntyre and Zeke Cam were responsible for the story outlines in this, meaning they penned the outline. And the storyboard artists essentially do the scripts, as I explained in another episode. John McIntyre is mostly a timing guy. I don't think he has much credits for outlines. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about this episode.
Yeah, I think I've pretty much covered.
They just have their work cut out for them in these first 5 of introducing villains, introducing the Rogues Gallery.
All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed another episode of the City of Soundsville podcast. This one was definitely our longest episode yet by far, which is cool. Well, yeah, I mean, we went for over 100 minutes that time.
Wow. Okay.
So
you're a blessing if you watch this to the end.
Yeah, honestly, kudos to you. All right, cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we will see you in the next one when we talk about the next episode pairing of Buttercrush and Fuzzy Logic. So hope you guys look forward to that. And yeah, for sure. So, all right, we'll see you guys then.
Okay, thank you.
I told you should have taken the orange. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, Amoeba boys, you're so dumb, but we love you anyway because once again the day is saved thanks to the Powerpuff Girls. Excuse me.